for being here. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm gonna try to fix the sound, but I did misplace my microphone. So we're just gonna have to make do. I have some notes here just in case I get off track because that tends to happen to me a lot. But I wanted to finally make a video about telling the world about my encounter with Jesus and what it was like to live through spiritual attack prior to getting baptized. So let's just get right into it. Alright, so for a while I had been toying with the idea of baptism. I grew up Catholic and I was baptized as a little baby, as a newborn, and I had no idea what was going on. And so when I believe this was when I was 27 or 26, I can't remember. It was a couple of years ago. And my husband kept telling me, you should get baptized, you should get baptized. And I definitely felt that pull in my heart. It was growing, that idea, that desire. That's something that I wanted to do. And so I finally said, okay, let's do it. Let's get me baptized. I'm ready to fully give my life to Christ and make that a public statement, for the world to see. All right, so this is where things get dark, right? So I was set on baptism, and I don't know exactly how this began. I was probably just scrolling through my phone, and I came across this story of a little baby girl that had, oh my God, it was just, I don't want to go into the details now, but it was just a horrific thing had been done to her, and everybody in her life had failed her. And I, for some reason, maybe because she was so little, and I'm a mother, right? So I have so much tenderness in my heart towards children, and I think the enemy knows that, right? And he was using that against me. And so this story just stayed with me, and I couldn't get it out of my head. This little girl, I kept seeing her in my dreams. I kept dreaming about her. I just kept imagining like the hell that she went through at such a young age, right? I had a 2-year-old at the time. I couldn't imagine something like that happening to him. I became very depressed very quickly, and I started to question God and his goodness. I was second guessing my decision to get baptized. I was thinking, well, I mean, all these horrific things are happening to all of these innocent people in the world. If God is so powerful and he has power to create and destroy in the blink of an eye, why is he allowing these things to happen to these innocent children that have done nothing? What kind of God would let that happen? Why would I want to devote my life to a God that just turns a blind eye at these horrible things happening to the most vulnerable of all of us? I was super obsessed with this case, and it was all happening in real time. It was something that had just recently happened within like the last month. And so I was on these like true crime TikTok accounts, and I don't even use TikTok. And I'm just trying to, find any news. Like, have these people been apprehended? Is anybody paying for this crime? Is she gonna get any justice? And so as I searched more and more of this case, and I really wanted to stay informed, I don't know if it was my algorithm. The algorithm feeds you more of what you watch, of what you look into. I started coming across more and more and more stories that were of a similar fashion, right? All about young children. And I don't even want to go into that space right now or ever again, because it's such a helpless place that you just feel powerless, you feel helpless, you even feel guilty. You feel guilty for not being there to protect these children. And who knows how many kids are suffering right now. I don't even want to go into that, because that's not my burden to bear. That is way too much for one person to handle. And so these stories kept coming up, and I just had this like morbid curiosity paired with this sixth sense of responsibility. I felt like the world had just forgotten about all these children. Everybody was just going on about their lives, and all these kids, they've just been forgotten by us, by society, just discarded. And I felt sort of like a twisted sense of grief that I needed to grieve for these kids. I needed to feel their pain, because no one else was. Nobody else, in my mind, was grieving for them. Nobody else was remembering them. During that time, it started, and then it went on and on for about 2 weeks. Maybe a little bit less, maybe longer. But I was just a mess. I was crying all the time. I would be cooking and I would just think about it, and I would just I cried so much. I mean, I couldn't even look at my son without thinking about these kids, right? I remember at one point I wanted to just grieve and wallow in my darkness, that I went off to I hid in my closet. The lights were off, the door was closed, and I just sat there and wept, sobbed, and asked, why, God, why? My brain just I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I continued to second guess him and second guess my decision to get baptized, and really just, I had almost like this rage towards him. Like, how could you? How dare you? How dare you allow these things to happen? Long story short, I was in a very dark and bad headspace and spiritual space. I just felt very tormented, very upset, very just hopeless and angry. I couldn't even, I was teaching yoga classes at the time. I couldn't even get through a class without my mind going to that place and me, tearing up during class. And it was bad. It really was. I was in a really dark space, and I felt like this darkness was clouding me, and I couldn't break out, and I didn't want to, honestly. You know that saying that we're familiar with our pain, we want to stay in it. That's how I felt. I didn't want to. I didn't want to see the light. I didn't want to, because I felt guilty. I felt bad. I felt like I needed to grieve. I just needed to. So that happened, and yeah, that was definitely a spiritual attack. I was being attacked like big time. My family, I was being attacked. I mean, the mother is the heart, the glue of the family, the home. My family, the enemy wanted to dismantle my family. He wanted to prevent me from giving my life to God, to Jesus. He wanted me to go back into that darkness and live there and question God, why would I want to give my life to you? One Sunday, I was up really early, 3 in the morning. If you're a baker, you know what I mean. I was up at 3 in the morning to turn on my oven so it could preheat for an hour. And at 4 o'clock, I was gonna put the first load of bread in the oven. Okay, so I get up, and it's September in Texas, so it's still quite warm. And back then we lived on the 3rd floor apartment, so we weren't worried about anybody breaking in or anything. So we would leave like our sliding glass doors, even a little bit cracked, to let some fresh air. We're really like fresh air, open the windows type of people. So we would leave the windows cracked, and we would leave, like my husband had an office, and he had a sliding glass door in his office. So he would leave that cracked. Anyway, I'm telling you this just to set the stage, right? There's breeze coming in, it's dark, it's 3 a.m., I'm getting up, I close the door of the bedroom, I pass the office, his door is open. And I go over to my kitchen, turn on my oven, preheat, go back to, I don't wanna wake up the boys, so I just go onto my couch and I say, I'm gonna just take a nap for another hour, get up at 4, and then load the first batch of bread. So I grab my phone, I put a timer, an alarm for 4 in the morning, set it off to the side, and I lie down on my side. I think I have a blanket over me, I'm not sure, it's not that cold. And I just pretty much immediately passed out, right? I went right back to sleep. This is gonna be really hard for me to explain because there's really no way I can adequately put it into words. It was such a weird experience. I'm not sure, I'm not even gonna give it a name. So basically, all of a sudden I could see myself from above, and I saw myself sleeping, and I could see the house, but I couldn't see it like I'm seeing my house now, right? It looked weird, like it was in another dimension. It just looked weird, different, like everything was darker, there was no bright colors, but I could see myself sleeping. Okay. And then suddenly I was right back into my body, and I began to get very scared, just very afraid. I felt like something was there. Something was just lurking somewhere, and it was coming for me. Like it just wanted to get inside of me and take hold. And I couldn't move. I guess you would call it sleep paralysis. I couldn't move, I couldn't open my eyes, I couldn't talk, I couldn't speak, I could breathe, but I was just completely locked. My muscles were locked, my body was asleep, but somehow I was cognizant, my soul, my consciousness, and I had this sixth sense. I could see into the other world. Like I said, I'm not even gonna try to give it a name or detail too much because it's not possible. And suddenly, I became aware of this blackness that was crawling in from my husband's office through the open door, and it was coming, just crawling and slithering its way to me, and I couldn't defend myself. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream for help. I couldn't even open my eyes. I was paralyzed, and I was so scared. I was terrified. I was physically paralyzed, and I was paralyzed with terror. I felt so scared. So scared. It's a terror that just gets into your bones. I was really scared of this thing coming at me. And even though I couldn't see it because I was on the couch, I could feel it. I could feel it getting closer. And so in a weird way, I could see it. I know, I don't make sense, but stay with me. The thing was coming, and it was just crawling, taking its time, coming towards me. And its only goal was to get me, to take hold of me, to take control, to possess me. And I'm sitting there pissing myself. I'm so terrified. And the only thing, I don't even think I thought of it. It's just what happened. I called out to Jesus. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I do remember saying his name 3 times. And he came. He was right there all of a sudden, and his presence was just very chill, very calm. Like, I'm here, there's nothing to fear. He didn't even speak. He just sat down next to my head. So we had a couch, a long couch with 3 big seats, and I was taking up like 2 of them, curled into a ball, and he sat on the 3rd ear right by my head. And I mean, instantly that fear was just gone. And like I said, he just sat down and he said, no, well, he didn't speak, but he just claimed his kingdom. This is his kingdom. I am his. Okay, you can't have her. The thing, I mean, he didn't even have to speak to it or do anything. He just had to sit there. And that thing immediately just started to slither right back to where it came from. Don't want to know where it came from. Don't care. Slither right back out of the office, right back into or out of our apartment. His presence there with me, he saved me. He really did. I have no idea. I don't even want to imagine what would have happened. Gosh, I don't even want to think about it. If he hadn't showed up, if I hadn't called him. But yeah, he came, he showed up, he staked his claim on our home, on me, as his. And I remember waking up to my alarm going off. Somehow it felt like I'd only been asleep for like 10 minutes at most, but somehow an entire hour had passed because it was now 4 a.m. And I woke up. I don't remember him leaving. I just remember being able to open my eyes and actually wake myself up back to real life. And I was just shook. I was like, what just happened? I didn't feel scared anymore. I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared at all. I was just in awe. And I was trying to wrap my mind around what had just happened. And I had just received a visit from him. It's really incredible. And you know, some people won't believe me. I don't care. It happened. And so after that, surprisingly or unsurprisingly, I was fine after that. I felt set free from that darkness that had plagued me for weeks and weeks. And I felt sort of a clarity come over me. Like, oh, you know, maybe it's not God allowing these things to happen. We just live in a broken world, and God gives us free will to follow his path or not, right? You're either, if you're not for me, you're against me. And there's either one way or the other way. And anyway, I told my husband when he woke up, I don't think I wrote it down at the time. I mean, it was so real. It was real. It was real. I'm gonna remember this for the rest of my life. And even though it was really scary and I suffered a lot through those weeks of just anguish and despair, just that meeting and that encounter with him, I would go through it all over again. And you can say, oh, maybe it was just an angel. Maybe it was your spirit guide. No, it wasn't. It was Jesus. It was him. Like, I couldn't look at him directly because he was just so brilliant, but I know it was him. It was him. I called his name, and he came and shone his light, and I was saved. So after that day, I didn't experience any more of that. I felt a clarity come over me, a peace, a reassurance that God is with me, Jesus is my protector. And although there are horrible, awful things that do happen every day in this world, there is more goodness in the world than there is evil. Love will prevail, and darkness cannot touch the light. As soon as Jesus came down, that thing couldn't even stand to be in his presence, right? It had no other choice but to scurry out right back where it came from. And I felt set free. I didn't experience any more of that darkness over my life. I am now, even to this day, I am very careful with the type of content I consume on social media or music or news or even books. I refuse to engage with or divulge in the world of true crime a lot, or so much anymore. I used to be a huge true crime junkie, right? Listen to podcasts and watch videos and read true crime books. But I don't do that anymore because it just takes me now. I think because I carry light in my body and in my spirit, it gets me. It just has a very dense, dark, demonic energy to it. That's how I feel. Another person might be completely unaffected by it. that's fine for them, but personally for me, I can't. Like, I tried to, I don't know why, I was bored. I tried to watch that Dahmer TV show with Evan Peters. I couldn't even get through the first episode. I couldn't. It's so disturbing. It has such a weird and dark and dense energy to it. I was like, yeah, no. Turn that off. Mm-mm. And especially when it comes to true crime involving children, I don't like to go there. Like, they say, oh yeah, we have to be informed. No, I don't. I will pray for the kids. I will pray for, all of our innocent people, not just children, all our innocent women, innocent men, boys, girls, the animals, the elderly. I pray for them and I ask God to cover them with His light, to protect them and to soften the hearts of those around them. But holding that in your psyche, in your body, it's way too much. It will destroy you. And I learned that firsthand. And I'm seeing this, or I was seeing this happen with a lot of my friends with the recent news of a lot of children overseas being hurt. Yeah, and it's destroying them. It's destroying their souls, you can't dwell in that space. You're not meant to hold this amount of pain in your body. Leave that to God. Just leave it to Him. Okay? Give it to Him. It's fine. It's good to be a sensitive person and to care, but it doesn't mean that you have to hold this all the time inside your body. It's not doing anybody any good. It's not doing you any good. It's not helping anybody. Just pray, give it to God, and try to spread your light. Just spread your light, spread love, help in whatever way you can, but don't dwell in that darkness. It will consume you. It will consume you. Anyway, so we ended up, just to wrap up this story, we ended up going to Colorado like a week after that, I believe, and went to the wedding. We had a great time. We drove around multiple cities, and we hiked and we ate, and it was such a great trip. It really was. And so after the wedding, the day after, I guess everybody was going home. But yeah, my husband's uncle, Mike, he baptized me in a lake that the natives used to refer to as Spirit Lake. It's in Grand Lake, Colorado. It was so cold. Oh, it was so cold. But I'm glad that I got to be baptized in a natural body of water. And I think the correlation of it being called Spirit Lake was just so cool. It was like I see you, God. I see you. And yeah. And they say that your life doesn't get easier after giving your life to Christ. It actually will get harder. And I found that to be true. But also, you have Him now, right? You're walking hand in hand with Him. And so it doesn't matter. Like, there's a storm raging around you. You have Him. And He can hold you. And the winds and the seas obey Him. What is there to be afraid of when you have got Jesus in your life? That's all for this video. I tried to keep it as short and sweet as possible, but I really wanted to make this a very detailed as much as possible story. Anyway, let me know, have you ever had an encounter like that or similar to that? Or I know a lot of people that have had Jesus come to them in dreams or visions, or I don't know. Tell me about your encounter. I would love to know, to hear. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that I came through quite clearly, and if you have any questions or you want to chat or tell me about your encounter, or maybe you're thinking about getting baptized but you're still on the fence, I would love to talk. Right, until next time.